Hey, welcome to another episode of the Joys of Cooking. I am your host, as always, Corey Dorr. And tonight, I'll be cooking you a steak dinner. It's one of my favorite things to cook in the world. This is going to be guaranteed to impress your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, rocks your boat. But I think a lot of people, especially if they live in apartments like myself, they think, I can't cook steak, I need a grill to cook a steak, but, that's a lot of horse shit. Because anyone can cook a steak. If you have a stove or an oven, you can cook a steak. And best of all, I'm going to show you how to elevate that steak to a whole new dimension. So just kick back, crack open a beer as always, and watch my show. For this dish, you will need, of course, the star of the show, the protein, the steak. For this recipe, I'm choosing the New York strip steak. You're going to want to put something on your steak, and my personal favorite is, of course, the mushrooms. I've pre-cleaned and pre-cut these in chunky little bits. We're going to saute these up. Now, you're going to want something green to go along with all this steak, so my personal favorite thing to cook is asparagus. We're going to simmer this for about 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to be nice and crispy. It'll make your pea smell, but it'll be nice and great. And as always, with all ingredients, I'll be using spices and herbs, in particular salt and pepper. But I'm also going to be using garlic and thyme for our steak. I'll show you what I'll do with that later. But first, let's season the steak. Okay, now, before we do anything to this steak, you're going to want to take it out of the fridge for at least 20 minutes. Just let it sit there, let it be, have a beer while you're waiting for it to warm up. The reason for that is because if you cook a cold steak, it'll cook unevenly, and it just won't turn out great. Now, let's start spicing it up. Now, as always, like I said in the other episode, you're going to want to use a lot of salt. Be really generous with this. You're going to want to cake it on there. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Corey, that's a lot of salt. It's going to be gross. But no. You're going to want to put a lot of salt in there. When in doubt, salt. Salt, salt, salt. You know what? If you put a lot of salt in this here steak, it'll make a nice little crust. You'll see the benefits of it, I promise. Okay, and after you put all the spices in there, you're going to want to rub it in there. Massage it nice and gentle. It's pretty tense. Just had a long day. You want to loosen it up a bit. Alright. Now, time to cook. Alright, first things first, you're going to want to get this pan nice and red hot, as hot as you can get it. Alright, now be warned, things will smoke, so turn on a fan, open a window, anything, because it is going to smoke, but it's well worth it. Alright, now if you have peanut oil, use that, but for today I'm going to use some olive oil. Put that on there. Just give your pan a nice little swirl, get that coated in the oil. Now to add the steak. That's the sound we want to hear. That's the sound of angels singing. Okay, now I'm going to cook my steak rare to medium rare. So to do that, you're going to have to cook it for maybe about 3-4 minutes for a steak of this thickness. For medium, maybe about 4 to 5 minutes, and for well done, well, you can get the Alright, now the steak is nice and charred on this side. Now, we're going to change the steak completely. As we add the butter. And of course, our herbs and spices. I like to use thyme. A lot of people like to use rosemary. Add some sprigs of thyme. Okay, now here is where we're going to elevate the steak to a whole new level. Okay, now I'm going to put some butter in the pan. And you can put any kind of spice you want to in there. It'll infuse with the butter. But for me, I like to use garlic and thyme, so let's do that. It's going to get up so sexy, y'all. Let's see. Okay, now you're going to want to get all that butter and rendered beef fat and just baste it. steak is done. Let's take it off the heat. Alright, now the first thing you're going to want to do is lay into that steak after you cook it. But trust me, just let it sit there, let it rest, let all those juices and blood just soak into that steak. And you know, while it's sitting, this is the perfect time to start on that asparagus. Okay, now in all that infused butter and beef fat, we're going to cook our mushrooms. Now for the asparagus, we're going to get a saucepan of water, about an inch high of water, get it simmering. We're going to season the water with some salt and just simply add the asparagus in there. Let that cook covered for about 2-3 minutes and we're all set. That's all there is to it.
Moving, though they're disapproving.